Hey, I'm Michael Irwin. Thanks for watching this video. Um, we're going to talk about construction drawings today, and this video is for lead electricians and project managers and those who are aspiring to get into either of those positions. If you are an up-and-coming electrician, then hopefully by now you are familiar with e-sheets or have at least seen them at some point when you're trying to figure out placement of devices, lights, etc. So here I have in front of me a set of plans that I've developed just for the sake of training in plans because I've done some trade school chapters on blueprints and stuff like that, and there's just a lot of stuff in there that makes it hard to determine what's actually going to come up in your practical everyday uh, life when you're working on the job site and what isn't. So my goal is to hit a lot of things that are going to be of practical use to you when you're on the job site. So I'm just going to go to the e-sheets at this point in time, and later I will do another video that will go into some detail on other plans that are relevant to a project manager working for an electrical contractor. So if we go to the e-sheets, I'm going to scroll through here. These are plans that you should be seeing on your job site. If you're just doing residential, then maybe you don't have plans. Um, maybe you have one drawing sheet that you're going off of, but a lot of small commercial jobs uh, and larger commercial jobs, you're going to have multiple pages. So just looking at the first e-sheet that I have here, we have the fixture schedule. This is pertinent to you. Every set of plans that has a spec lighting package of some kind, or most commercial jobs are going to have a light fixture schedule. A lot of high-end custom home residential jobs are going to have a light fixture schedule. You want to come here when you want to look for a symbol and identify exactly what type of light it is. Sometimes there's symbols and you have no idea what it is. Maybe you can tell that it's on a wall or in a ceiling. But if you come here, it's going to oftentimes tell you what the fixture type is. That's going to help give you some visualization to what it is you're installing and help you to plan ahead. It's going to tell you what the voltage is. Some of these commercial jobs, you have different voltages coming from different panels. So here we can see that on the schedule, everything's at 120, which is fine. A lot of fixtures have multi-tap um, options on them to where you could wire them up for 120 or 277 or different voltages. The manufacturer and the description of the light. So what's important here is sometimes there's also a fixture type that is not just a description like this, but it's actually like a F something, some number. And you can come and look at the light fixture schedule, see that that symbol is in a certain room, and then look at the box and make sure that the box of the fixture you're about to install has that type on the box as well, so you know that you're putting up the right light. I've been on jobs where the wrong lights have been installed and then had to be taken back down, luckily in just one room and only like 4 to 6 fixtures, but there was just multiple types of 4-foot strip lights. Some were for elevator pits, some were for these rooms in this building, and had other applications. And so there was a little mix up, and had we come to this light fixture schedule or legend on this plan, we would have been able to find the fixture type, look at the box, and see that we're putting in the correct fixture in the correct locations. So the electrical legend, you want to make sure you always come to the legend and look at symbols that are not obvious to you, because sometimes there's a symbol that once you get experience and look through a lot of different plans from a lot of different architects, sometimes there's a symbol that you're used to being used for one application and someone else may be using it for another application. There's always little variations, and you want to make sure you just double check the legend to make sure that you know exactly what it is that you're putting in. Sometimes They identify ground fault receptacles just with a G. Sometimes they identify ground fault receptacles by coloring in the center. Sometimes they color in the center just to indicate that they're counter height receptacles, and standard duplex that may be ground fault protected and not necessarily a GFI receptacle. So just make sure you come and look at the legend. You should have one on the first E-sheet. Now we're going to talk about notes. When you're looking through the plans, you want to be able to read these notes to help you to understand more about the installation. For general notes, these are notes that apply generally to the project, and sometimes you'll find that general notes are maybe pasted on different pages, and a lot of the same notes may be on the same pages, or maybe they're just all on one page and you got to go back to read the general notes. But general notes apply generally, and keynotes apply to a specific item on the page that you're looking at. So sheet E2 keynotes, I put this in here for training purposes, but typically all it's going to say is keynotes, and you're going to have a symbol here that looks a little different than just the numbers given on general notes. So here you have a number with a circle. So what you would do when you're looking at a blueprint and it has keynotes on it, you're going to come over to this floor plan and you're going to try to find the keynote symbol on the floor plan and then read the note, and it's going to tell you about this specific item. So I found note 3. There's a J box symbol here. That's a 3 with a circle around it. It matches the symbol at my keynote. So I come here and read it, and it says circuit to be switched via time clock. So that's a note that's telling me a little more about this junction box and what I need to do when providing the circuit to this junction box. It's telling me I need to go through the time clock. This is relevant information to me because it determines how I run my wiring. And so just make sure when you are going through these plans that you're familiarizing yourself a little bit with the notes, both general and keynotes, prior to getting ahead of yourself and actually installing things, because you want to make sure you put them in right. So that way you're not doing it twice later on. If we keep going, we will see our lighting plan. When you're looking at the lighting plan, sure, maybe you are comfortable with your ability to look at it and kind of determine your box layout and what type of lights maybe are going to go in these rooms. But something that comes up, especially whenever I was a new helper, is ceiling height. It was, for me, I didn't know how to find the ceiling height in each room. I oftentimes was just waiting for them to start putting the perimeter of the grid up, and then that would kind of help me identify what the height of the ceiling was going to be, or maybe I asked my project manager. But if you're a electrician and you want to get better with your familiarity with plans, then it's very simple for you to be able to determine the ceiling height in a room. No matter what set of plans you're looking at, if it's, a decently put together set of plans from an architect, typically all you have to do to identify the ceiling height is go find the reflected ceiling plan. So you just want to remember that term, reflected ceiling plan, or RCP as the abbreviation for that. If you go to the very first set of pages in your drawings and just look for the reflected ceiling plan, which is almost always going to be in your A sheets, your architectural sheets, you can find it. You can go there. We see here it's in 802. So we'll go there, and it's going to show me which ceiling types are in each room and the heights. So here I can see I got a lot of grid, a lot of ceiling grid. It says here that this is open to structure. And once you turn to the reflected ceiling plan, it's going to help you get a better understanding of your lighting installation. So we got ceiling heights at 10 feet, which is great. They're not different heights in all these different locations other than this open to structure part right here. So we'll go over a little more about some of these architectural sheets later and more information that you're going to be able to find. But just from going from a helper to a lead electrician, you want to be able to determine ceiling heights, be able to put this lighting in without, having to constantly, get help. If you're trying to be a helper and get to a lead position, the more skills you have under your belt, the more familiarity you have with these plans, the more you're going to be able to do, the more they're going to be able to cut you loose to do more tasks on your own and give you a helper, and it's going to give your leads more confidence in your ability and help you grow. And it's good. If you talk to a lot of helpers out there today, I've talked to some people, they don't always, have much familiarity with plans at all. And a lot of them, I didn't learn about a reflected ceiling plan, even though it's so simple. It's pretty standard. It's pretty common that's the page you go to. I didn't learn about the reflected ceiling plan until I was an estimator, and I learned a lot about blueprints. And I'm going to share that with you, all the things that I know. It's probably going to be broken up into a few videos, but it'll help you. I hope you keep watching these videos, subscribe to the channel, leave comments if you have questions, and we got a few more e-sheets to get through. But interact with us here. If there's more questions you have, we'll try to answer them in some of these upcoming videos. So now I'm at a mechanical roof plan, E04. That's my sheet number. Still in the electrical sheets. A keynote again. Okay, I got a keynote number 1. I come over here, I find keynote number 1, and it says that route a 1/2-inch conduit with T-stat wire to the rooftop unit from the thermostat location. So it's telling me that me, as the electrician, I have to go and pull or run a conduit for the thermostat wire to these units. We're at the rooftop. You're probably gonna want to know, if it's the early stages of the project, and you're just trying to get a good visual of this job, how tall is this building? How tall, how much conduit and wire are you going to need to get to the rooftop? So we'll go over that in another video, how to determine that. But here, at least on our e-sheets, we're able to see that we do have some rooftop equipment that we're going to have to get power to. This is the mechanical roof plan. It's not, oftentimes there's a roof plan, but a lot of times this keynote and information about controls and thermostat wiring and stuff like that for mechanical equipment, a lot of times you have to go to the mechanical plans in order to get that information. I have put it here just for training purposes. But the more you get familiar with drawings, the more you're going to want to go through more plans than just the e-sheets. And that's really what's going to take you from a lead electrician position to maybe a project manager position, because you have to eventually get to where you know that you got to go to other parts of these drawings to get more information about the project for yourself and your guys to be able to do it and to be able to coordinate with other trades. And that's more of the project manager's job. We have a riser. A lot of commercial jobs have risers on them. Most of them have these. And this is going to give you a simple diagram to show you kind of exactly what's going to run, what you're going to run from your transformer to your main distribution panel or your service location, and then your feeder conduit wire sizes from one panel to another panel. And it's just going to give you a clear visual on what you're going to run from one panel to the other, your feeders and stuff like that, feeders and service conductors. Sometimes, like right here, we have them coming from underneath. Sometimes they will actually draw these underneath like this if they want you to go underground or in slab, and other times they'll come up and over if they want it overhead. And maybe they have a note there to kind of tell you about that a little more. We have a keynote 1. only one keynote on this drawing, and it doesn't even say keynote right here, but I know that that's a keynote. 2 runs of 2-inch conduit with 4 3/0 copper and 1 number 3 copper ground. So it's telling me how many runs. I'm running parallel conduits, what size it is, what type of conductors I'm going to run, and to where. I can see that I have 3-phase gear out here. I can see a NEMA rating for this panel here. So there's a lot of information you can get from the riser. We have a panel schedule. Sometimes you're looking at your floor plan here and you see home runs and it's unclear as to what size the circuit is. Well, you can always come to your panel schedule and you can look at the breaker size, and that might give you a little more information about the circuit size here, the wire size you're going to need. Sometimes they have the loads broken out down the panel schedule as well, and you can see the exact connected load or demand load on a particular circuit. But another thing is you can come here and sometimes there's things that are not on your floor plan like they're supposed to be, and you might see a circuit on the panel schedule for it, and you got to, take into account that you're going to have to run that circuit and maybe bring it up to the contractor or the your supervisor that, hey, there's no circuit on the plans for this or no location on the plans for this circuit that's clearly on the panel schedule. And sometimes that's vice versa. Sometimes there's stuff on the floor plan that's not on the panel schedule and they don't have a circuit accounted for it, and you got to bring that up as well because we got to charge for the breaker that's missing, the wire and conduit that's missing, and stuff like that. So let's keep going through these plans. This is just a quick overview of some electrical plans and things you might find on them. Hope the video is helpful to you. Here we have some details. Now, details are just going to give you a clear breakdown of a particular item, a more in-depth visual of something. Sometimes you're looking at a detail that is showing you the front view of a cabinet space or a certain wall of a room, and it's almost like you're standing there looking directly at it on the job site at the finished product, and that's a detail you would look at that would give you, heights of cabinets or mounting heights of outlets or kind of a little more information about how they want things oriented and stuff like that. Here, this is an e-sheet still, so these details are specifically for us. This is a pole-based detail, very typical and very common on commercial jobs, a pole-based detail. When you're looking at a site plan on electrical drawings, sometimes you have pole lights, site lights out there, and you might want to come to the pole-based detail to see what size conduit is going to be stubbed out of the pole base, or do you have to have a handhole? Are you driving ground rods out there? What are the dimensions of the pole base? Or maybe you have a direct buried pole and you don't have a pole base for your site lights. If you don't have a pole base detail and you want to confirm that your poles are direct buried, you would just go back to your lighting schedule. You would find your pole light right here, pole light, 25-foot pole, steel, 2-head. Sometimes right here in the description, it will say that the pole's direct buried, or it'll give you the model, manufacturer number, an item number, and you can look that up. And sometimes there's a DB in the number, and that is a direct buried pole. Now just scrolling through here again, there's our pole light right there. Got a hand hole, an HH in a rectangle right here. That's a hand hole. We could confirm that by coming back to our legend. There's the symbol. There's the description. It says size per NEC, the National Electrical Code. You got to know how to do that. Going back to our detail, these are have a lot of relevant information in there. So especially dimensions, especially if you're trying to price a job. You got to know the dimensions of the pole base. If you're going to manually figure out how much concrete and rebar you need, or if you're going to get it, made for you at some precast company, you got to know the dimensions. It's going to tell you a little bit about your pole as well, and anchor bolts and sizes for those sometimes. A lot of the times your anchor bolts, which we can talk more about those in another video, but your pole sits on this pole base, and it's the anchor bolts that come down that look like little J's right here that actually hold the pole up. There's some bolts up here that go through the base plate of the pole and are tightened down to connect the pole to the pole base. The pole base is in the ground. That's what keeps the pole up. We have a data stub up detail. Once you get into commercial work, very common to have data stub up details. This is relevant because oftentimes for data, at a minimum, you're going to typically run a conduit with a stub up, which is just a 90. One piece of conduit with a 90 on it up through the top plate of a wall, and bend it out and put a bushing on it. And you may want to look at your detail to see exactly what size box they require. Maybe there's notes. There's not on this plan, but you may look at the legend. A lot of times you have to use a specific box for data. Maybe it's a 4 square deep box. If it's a 4 square, it's typically a deep box. If it's sometimes it has to be a 4 and 11/16 box. So just look at your legend, look at the data symbols, see what it calls for. On this detail, it's telling us we got to use a 1-inch conduit. Some jobs they may use 3/4 inch conduit. You just want to get the information from the plans. That's going to be your job as a lead. As a project manager, you need to be able to come to these plans and get the information off the plans to do the job properly. And this is very important when you become a contractor or a project manager, because a lot of times just because something's code compliant doesn't mean it's project compliant. The engineer, the owner, the plans may call for something that is more than what the code minimum would be, or maybe it's something specific. Maybe you think you can use some MC cable, but they've determined that they don't want any MC cable on their job. You want to know that before installing and buying a bunch of MC cable. So that is the last page for our e-sheets here. There's a lot of other information that's going to be relevant to you on drawings as you progress through your career and become a lead, and then even more when you become a project manager and an electrical contractor. So leave your questions below, or your comments. Anything that I've left out with regard to just the e-sheets, let me know, and maybe we can hit it up in the next video, or people read your comment and get that in there as well. Once again, thanks for watching the video. I'm Michael Irwin with Irwin Power. Make sure to visit our website at irwinpowerllc.com, and we'll talk to you later.